Hello, this is The Intersection.
Hey, you're watching The Intersection, where faith, life, and culture meet. I'm Eric Targe.
I'm Justin May, and joining us today is Jocelyn Carter, Associate Professor of Psychology at DePaul University here in Chicago. Welcome, Jocelyn.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. I feel like that's kind of a big deal for us on The Intersection.
It should be a very, very big deal. And I'm a very big deal. So
Yes.
I'm glad.
You have
to
many
be
leather-bound books and
We-
your apartment smells of rich
Yes,
mahogany.
and I wore a blazer
Damn.
for today,
Yeah.
so there we
I
go.
feel slightly underdressed.
Well, me too. Me too. But hey, so we are having you here today to talk about the emotion of thankfulness and gratitude. I know you have something to say about that, though. So let's just have it. Fight us.
Okay.
Fight you.
Fight me. You agree. Okay, fine. Go for
He
it.
just knows it's not worth trying to
Yeah.
to fight.
You guys are in a small group together, so
Yes.
you've done this. Okay.
We know. So psychologists really think that thoughts, feelings, and behaviors should be separated. They're all closely interrelated, but we don't think that you can directly change your feelings. We don't think that there's any like wrong feelings or bad feelings to have, but it's the thoughts that sort of give rise to those that we want people to be able to focus on changing, because you can't actually directly change your feelings. So that's why I would say gratitude is definitely related to lots of feelings, but I would not technically consider it a feeling.
And not an emotion. So not an emotion, not a feeling.
Not an emotion.
So
not
what-
a feeling.
What is gratitude? Because we've been misleading our people.
I'm sorry,
You've
people.
been misleading.
I've been misleading our
Ah.
people. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me, what is gratitude? What is the definition, the psychological term?
So I would say the definition, so gratitude would be more of a thought or a posture or an orientation or behavior. So giving thanks would be something that you could do, that you could see someone doing. And certainly when you're giving thanks, you usually have certain feelings associated with that, but it would be more likely to be a thought or a behavior. So
okay.
Acknowledging the things that you have to be thankful for, thinking about them, or doing something to show that thankfulness.
So you'd say if I'm feeling thankful, I'm actually not feeling thankful. I'm feeling 1,000 other things that contribute to the feeling in my head of thankfulness.
Yes, that's what I would say. And it's not that worth like necessarily getting hung up on. But it is an important
For the simple minds like Justin and I, we'll say we'll continue to say we feel thankful.
That's fine.
Now, I've heard it said that feelings are like thoughts, but without the usefulness. Would you agree with that, or is that?
No, feelings are so useful.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah.
So let's take this biblical for a second.
Yeah, how
because
about we do that?
To the point of gratitude, thankfulness, those things being a little bit less to Jocelyn's point, a little bit less of a feeling, I get a much more verb sense from that, right? So 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 16, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. So that's a thing that I'm doing. I get a definite sense of you should do that, but it doesn't really tell me how I'm supposed to feel while I'm doing that, right? Because I can see doing that under some pretty adverse or maybe, not natural circumstances to do it. Things aren't always going well, but I'm giving thanks to God because I'm commanded to do it for what I do have or how I've been delivered up to that point.
Yeah, so I guess one of the questions we have for you today is kind of how do you go about being thankful? How do you counsel people or psychologize People, I don't know what psychologists call
We
it.
psychologize.
You
all
psychologize.
the time. That's
So how
what
do
we
you go about psychologizing people to be thankful when they don't when they just don't feel it? Because so I was teaching on anxiety last week in our college ministry, and as we were going through Philippians 4, my mindset was to be the evil. I'm just vulnerable here, so I'm showing my own evil. I was like, oh, the Bible gives some rules for how to get over anxiety. It's through prayer and supplication and thanksgiving. And I was like, okay, but what does the world have to say? You know, it's like one of those little evil things that we have about ourselves. And the interesting thing I found all over the internet from just non-Christian websites, non-biblical websites, was that the encouragement was meditation and practicing gratitude, prayer and thanksgiving, which is exactly what Paul tells us to do. In fact, I found this article by a guy named Albert Moll. You've heard of him? So he's a German psychologist. I'm about to butcher all of these words. So just heads up, I'm going to be corrected here. But here's a corrected harshly? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what he said. He said, the limbic system is part of the brain that is responsible for all emotional experiences. It consists of the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the amygdala.
Wrong.
What?
It's amygdala.
Sounds Star Warsy to me. Hippocampus? No.
No, that's good.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah.
cingulate gyrus.
And we call it the CG for
CG.
short.
Okay, but I'm just saying all those so I can sound smart.
Yeah,
But here's the here's the important sentence. It says studies have shown that the hippocampus and the amygdala, got it right, the two main sites regulating emotions, memory, and bodily functions, get activated with feelings of gratitude. And so actually expressing gratitude helps us to control the rest of our emotions and kind of how we would say our emotions move us. So one of the things we've been talking about in our college ministry is how the very word emotion comes from the Latin emuvare, which means to move out. And so our emotions are meant to move us in different directions, which is why, I mean, we would agree with what you said, that there is no such thing really as a bad emotion or a good emotion. It's how we allow our emotions to move us and how we work with them.
Exactly.
So realizing that gratitude is so important for our emotional health, how do we do it when we don't feel like it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I'm a big believer in habits and of being intentional with habits, and so gratitude is something that we can make a habit of in terms of noticing things around us. So many times we're going about our daily life and good things are happening, but we're not actually recording them in some way that allows us to remember them. So I know there was a book that came out that was popular in Christian circles a while ago about like writing down your blessings. I think it was called like 1,000 Blessings. And so I actually started writing a gratitude journal as part of my daily devotion and I'm at like over 5,000. And some days you sit down and you open the page and you think, I don't have anything really to be thankful for. And then you find even small things, and sometimes that's all there is, but you can just get started recording and noticing those things. But you have to be aware about what's going on to be able to even remember. So I think that's a huge thing, and don't think it has to be like I won the lottery, because every day is not going to be that awesome. Good for you if it is that awesome, but sometimes it's just, you had a smooth, commute in, or by the grace of God, like something that you wanted to wear was actually clean. Like you can be thankful for many, many small things, and they're all gifts from God.
You're speaking my language on the things being clean.
Yeah.
Small kids make that very job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got schmutz on my pants, and you guys can't see that. So I appreciate clean clothes.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for them when they happen.
Okay, so you'd say kind of one of the first things that we can do in order to foster more habits and a feeling of gratitude is just writing it out. Like write out our gratitude. I think that's such a good reminder because it's tangible and it's something that's easy to do. There's so many things we can be grateful for. Justin, do you have anything to be grateful for?
I got a ton of stuff to be grateful for. Yeah, I made it here in one piece. My kids, when I was trying to change them, did not poop all over me, so I would have to change out of the clean shirt that I'm wearing. That was huge, because that's not been the case lately.
Yeah, it's hard to be it's hard to be grateful sometimes, or it's easy to allow anxiety to kind of rule us when you're in those stressful situations of your kid messing up your stuff, or my daughter is not sleeping through the night very well and been waking up at 3 a.m. and it sometimes causes a whole bunch of emotions to come out that are not necessarily holy, or not their unholy emotions, but unholy movements of my emotions.
Yeah.
And I think practicing gratitude can be one of those really helpful things, and maybe even having a journal of being able to open back up to, or possibly even like a notes thing on your phone, right? To be like, okay, I'm thankful for this about my little daughter. I'm so thankful for this. I'm thankful about can be helpful to.
Yeah, and I think thinking about what you would miss if she weren't around. So you're thankful that God's given you a daughter. I'm thankful that I have a husband. Even if he, makes a mess, if I can sort of reorient my thinking about what the problem is and just be thankful for his presence. But it's a shift for sure.
Since this is going out on the internet and a couple people will see it, are there any other things you'd like to air out about your husband that we can share just with the viewership? I'm just curious.
Well, what can you tell us about Les?
Well, to stay on topic, so Les, actually, I joke that he went along grad school with me and was sort of forced into lots of learning about thoughts and feelings as I went through, and he sort of has an honorary master's, and he's not the most in touch with his feelings. But
did you hear that?
He's been really good at adjusting his sort of thinking about feelings as being not something to be afraid of, but something to lean into, and to give us information that we might not have access to if we're like trying to think logically about what's actually going on in every situation. So he's grown a lot, and I've also grown from being married to him. But if we're going to keep it on topic with emotions, especially with raising daughters, and he's like, this doesn't make sense. And like, sometimes it doesn't make sense, and we can sit with that emotion, and that's okay too. It's not something that has to be fixed or changed.
Well, that's such a good word of hope for people who really struggle with emotions and learning how to regulate and how to work in the midst of being an emotional creature. That hey, you can learn to do that. So I know you said, hey, write it out is a big one for gratitude. What else can you tell us? What would you say is another important thing for gratitude?
Yeah, so one of the other really important things about gratitude is communicating gratitude to other people. So if you're writing it out, you're sort of reminding yourself. If you're doing it as part of your devotion, maybe it turns into a prayer of thanksgiving to God who's given you the things. But I think that it's important for us to reach out to other people. So letting them know something that you're thankful for that they did for you, even if it seems relatively minor. It can be, thanks for setting up, the coffee for this meeting, or thanks for being here on time, or whatever it is. So sort of putting that into the world and the people that are around you, I think is really good. And then that helps. It helps them feel appreciated, and like you notice them, but it also it helps you.
Well, so what I'm kind of hearing is like write it out and talk it out. So it's the writing and then talking out, whether it's to somebody like Justin, thank you so much for just being wonderful and being here.
Shucks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But then also the talking out to God, which I think makes our gratitude as Christians different from the world's gratitude. Because like you see those typical sitcom Thanksgiving, everyone holds hands and they say what they're thankful for, and it's like, but where are you thankful to? Like, where is it? Does that change anything? Like, do psychologists say that it does change anything if you have a direct object for your gratitude? Or I'm just curious.
Yeah, there's a little bit of research about that. Not so much specifically to God, although I do a lot of coping research, so coping with stress and depression and anxiety. And one of the things that we find, especially for people who've experienced trauma, is that if they have a relationship with God, that they say they pray regularly, that they connect to people in their church environment as a source of coping or strength, they actually are able to experience this thing called post-traumatic growth, which means that they can see the benefits in their whatever their trauma was, even if they wouldn't choose to go back and re-experience that. They find meaning, and they're able to do that with the support of God and church. So that's a really interesting sort of new concept in psychology. So, but growth from religious involvement and from people who are supportive of you in your environment is one of our cool new findings.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jocelyn, thank you so much for your time today. If you are interested in getting more information about building habits of gratitude and understanding what the Bible has to say about gratitude, we want to encourage you to pick up this book today. It's a book called Thanksgiving, an investigation of a Pauline theme by a guy named David Powell. He was actually one of my professors at TEDS, Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. Check this out, and thank you so much for watching this episode of The Intersection. If you liked this video, please, like it. And then press subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Yeah. So that was the first one.
Awesome.
How'd you feel about it?
It was fun.
Yeah?
How do we do time-wise?
15 minutes.
Dude, are you kidding? That's amazing.